Okay, I told you to come back for a melt. So today we're gonna melt something down. So today we're gonna do a bunch of brass. Luckily I'm close to a shooting range owned by Bureau of Land Management. So I have some cartridge brass and some plumbing brass from changing out some fixtures in my house and my mom's house. That is solid bronze. Big pot of copper and a bunch of aluminum. We'll do those another day. I got a little bit of sterling silver. I'm gonna make some rings. And then that is a bar of aircraft aluminum that I am going to use to make some aluminum bronze at a later date. The aircraft aluminum should make it stronger with a lot of the other metals that are in that alloy. And I like to use green sand. I don't use Petrobond. A lot of people swear by Petrobond, but you pour hot molten metal into oil and it off gases. And then you have burnt sand that you have to then get rid of and replace. This, I just crush it back down, rehydrate it with some water, and then I can use it. So I did that with aquarium sand, which is really, really fine grain, and bentonite clay. Mixed it all up, and right now it's really dry. So I'm gonna go ahead and rehydrate that right now. All right, got all that rehydrated. So what you wanna see is you squeeze it into kind of like a dog turd. Get it all squeezed, and then you wanna break it. You wanna see a kind of a clean break as you move it. So, yeah, see, pretty clean break there. Doesn't take a whole lot of water to get this hydrated, but you just crush up all the big pieces and mix it around and get all the dry stuff off the bottom, and then you will have it. So today, for all of you who were ever working up the courage to do something, we're gonna make some brass balls. So let me pour those, or get those pushed into the mold there, and we'll get going. All right, I got my stainless steel balls pressed into the mold. Put a little bit of cornstarch on there. You'll see people using baby powder or something like that, but baby powder is mostly cornstarch anyway, and it doesn't have other stuff in it. So we're gonna just put the top on, put the sand on the top. I like to screen it through the little screen to get a nice fine beginning around the pieces, and then I'll go ahead and tamp it down with the with my hammer handle. I don't have a better tamper. One of these days I'll pour a nice one. Well, I tried to carefully remove the stainless steel balls, and then I poked a hole in there. So we call that a sprue. If the metal, when the metal cools down, it will draw from the sprue. Otherwise you'll end up with a divot in your sphere. So we will see how this works. Nobody really talks about it unless you're talking about tempering your crucible. They say the crucible doesn't like big temperature changes, which makes sense. So it's been sitting in the barbecue for, I don't know, probably more than a half hour, just warming up, just so that when I throw it in the furnace, it doesn't get a huge temperature change. All right, let's fire this up. Got my gauge set to 10 PSI, I got the gas on. Don't have it on right here. So turn it on here and immediately start it up. see how they turn out. Crucible's kind of dirty. Have to scrape that out. Wait a few minutes, I'll dump that out, clean everything up a bit. That's a bunch of slag. There was dirty stuff left over in the crucible too. But I actually went through that whole little pot of brass. I was a little surprised. All right, let the cleanup begin. All right, so there's what I got. 6.5 bars and a little bit of scrap. And then here's these balls. Put a little eyelet in them so I can hang them. There's some defects in them, so I polished them up pretty good. I could probably get them a little bit better, but it's not that big a deal. Sanding, grinding, polishing, drilling a hole. Let's see how much one of these weighs. Wow, 26 ounces. Let's change the units. Pounds, 1.63 pounds for one. Then let's see what the average one of these weighs. There we go, 0.99, so pretty much 1 pound. So that's what I got out of that whole bucket of brass. And there's a lot of impurities in there. There's a lot of slag left in the crucible after I dumped it. So I may remelt these down. I do have an order for a better bar mold and a couple other molds that are gonna be kind of fun. Stay tuned.